Welcome to the Connors Corner segment of Ask the Lawyer. You know, a few weeks ago we had Eric Bowling on, and he was talking about he got a chance to play minor league baseball for a little while, and it was a dream come true. But at the same time, our next guest not only played minor league baseball, he played Major League Baseball, and he started with the Brooklyn Dodgers and ended up with the New York Mets, and he's a homegrown Brooklyn product. Robert Aspromonte, how you doing today, sir?
Oh, great, Mike. Great being with you, Mike.
Okay, so you grew up in Brooklyn.
Oh, yes. The family history is there. We very sports-minded neighborhood. We all attended LaFayette High School in Bensonhurst, and we had almost 12 major leaguers from that high school, and one superstar, which is Sandy Koufax, and also Freddie Wilpon. So we've had a tremendous young background of playing a lot of sports, and they was really conducive to baseball.
When did you sign with the Dodger organization?
In 1956, I was 17 years old, just graduating from high school, and I signed a major league contract, and my older brother had to sign with me to make sure it's okay. And then 4 days later, with Al Campanis and Walter O'Malley, I joined the Brooklyn Dodgers. And what an incredible feeling that was to get on the field and have Walter Olson say, "Bobby, great being here, but I want you right now to go ahead and field some ground balls with Jackie Robinson, Pee Wee Reese, and Gil Hodges." Well, the little skinny body wouldn't move. So I finally got over there and started fielding some ground balls, and I had an oversized glove. And Jackie says, "Bobby, that's more of an outfielder's glove. You need an infielder's glove, shorter fingers." So he gave me his glove, and we started fielding a lot of ground balls, and it all worked out. And I said, "Oh, thank you, Jackie. You really helped me." He said, "No, Bobby, you keep that glove." And I've kept that glove for over 40 years.
Oh, wow. That's really something.
Yeah, really, very incredible. I mean, I was so touched by them and how they helped this young kid. Gil Hodges and Jackie was very special.
You're in the Dodgers organization, but your big break, I guess, when the then Houston, Colt 45s.
That's right. The expansion years when we had the New York Mets and Colt 45s, and being from Brooklyn at that time, the New York Mets, with the established stars that they have produced, over here was a lot of young team and young players, so the change was a little different, but it was the most incredible feeling to come to a new franchise, a new area, who never experienced the Major League Baseball before, and to watch this incredible Astrodome being built. It was really a special time.
Now, who were some of the players you played with the Colt 45s and later the Astros?
Well, we played with it's interesting, when we had a lot of young players, when we looked at all Joey Malfatello players, Norm Locker was an established star, but Paul Rich, as the general manager, established 3 or 4 really outstanding older players to stabilize the franchise. And that was Nellie Fox, Pete Runnels, Eddie Casco. So it was really a great way to start a young kid and a young franchise. And so that worked out really well. And when you look at some of the players that we played with and grew, it was a great experience for all of us.
Okay, and eventually you got a chance to come home again and play with the Mets.
Well, it's the most incredible story. When Gil Hodges took care of me, and what an experience that was, especially for someone like myself who's just starry-eyed about one of the players and just couldn't believe I was there watching them all, and participated a little bit in some of the games. But Gil always took care of me, and we became incredible franchise friends. Then we played at Los Angeles Dodgers together. And then when I was drafted by the Houston Colt 45s, we always maintained a very close relationship. As you know, Gil lived in Brooklyn as well. And but the relationship continued on for so many years. Then as my last years start to come along, he always said, "Bobby, I'm going to kind of trade for you and get you here." And that's when they had some difficulty at third base at that time, the New York Mets. So they traded for me, and that's coming back 15 years later, back to your hometown, and also playing with someone managing like Gil Hodges. And I never forget, in spring training we had a few laughs. I said, "Gil, because I always wore number 14 because of Gil Hodges." So when I got to spring training, the first thing I was teasing him, I said, "Gil, you always sit on the bench. You're never out there. Let me wear 14. he looked at me and says, "Bobby, you're number 2."
Now you mentioned you got some stories to tell, so
Well, there's a lot to really interesting the background, but the most incredible thing is there was a story made about, they call it Bob Aspromonte Blind Fate Story, and Nash Entertainment put it together for 1 hour on TV for quite a while. And it's about this little boy in El Dorado, Arkansas, was playing Little League Baseball, and at the time a storm came in and they removed everybody off the field, and little Billy went underneath this tree into the water fountain and was struck by lightning and blinded, and the whole story goes on from there. They eventually come to Houston to get all the medical attention necessary, but the kid was always listening to the games on radio, and I was kind of his favorite player. And at that time, I think that's the only one I had was one. And he was such a special kid, and he called the Astros, and I visited him in the hospital, and I brought him a ball and a bat, and just thought the kid was just totally bandaged up, smile on his face. Spent about 15 minutes with him, and then I said, "I got to go to the game, Billy." He said, "Bobby, would you hit me a home run?" "Oh," I said, "Billy, I'm not a home run hitter, but I'll give you my best effort." Game starts, last of the 9th inning, we're 2 runs behind. I hit a 3-run home run to win the game. And this story continues on. That's why it's such a divine intervention story, because he was operated on a week later, 1 eye at a time. He comes back 6 weeks after, and again I take the family to lunch, and we have the same kind of conversations. "Bobby, would you hit me a home run?" I said, "Billy, you're really pushing your luck. Would you accept a couple of base hits?" And we started laughing. I said, no, Billy, I'm going to do the best I can. Last of the 10th inning, I hit a grand slam home run for this kid and myself. So I know this wasn't Bob Aspromonte hitting these home runs. He was getting a tremendous amount of help. Goes back home for the winter, operated on the other eye after, comes back. The season just started in April. And again, he's at the game, and everybody's really excited about it because it went nationwide. "This one's for you, Billy. This one's for you, Billy." Gene Elston, the announcer, would always say that. First inning against the New York Mets, I hit a grand slam home run again for him. We retrieved the ball and gave this kid the ball, and this whole stands and even both teams just couldn't believe the reaction of the kid, and it was something very special.
Did you keep in touch with that young man?
Oh, we're very much in close because I'm one of the chairpersons for the Lions Eye Bank Foundation here in Houston and Houston Eye Associates. So we put a lot of functions on, and they were honoring us a couple of years ago, and it had Billy attend, and you couldn't believe there wasn't a dry eye in that place. And there was over 300 people watching this Billy, now 56 years old, coming up and telling his story.
Now, you mentioned at the beginning that your brother was with you when you signed the contract. Is the same brother who played in the major leagues and managed Cleveland?
Well, my older brother, Charlie, really took care of me because there was quite a bit of difference, about 11 years difference. So he always took care of me as we grew up through the baseball area. And Charlie went to NYU, and he played 4 years in the minor leagues. My brother, Kenny, played 10 years in the big leagues and managed the Cleveland Indians for 3 years. So all three of us played professionally, and it was just a very special helping one another, and how they took care of me was just fantastic.
Now, I know a lot of people I remember talking about your brother Kenny, that he was a pretty good manager at Cleveland, but he never got another chance. That's
right. It's a good point. He really did. He had a very difficult time at first, not him, but the team lost over 100 games when he took over, and he did just a great job, and everything was going well, and but then he was replaced, and that was it. They got another chance.
You talked about probably what has to be a great thrill, or the biggest thrill you can have in the big leagues, hitting the home runs for that young man. What is some other memories or whatever that you take out of your career in Major League Baseball?
Well, I was very fortunate. I had 3 National League fielding records, and I did that I had a stretch of 57 consecutive games without an error, and the National League record for the highest fielding percentage for a third baseman, playing over 150 games. And then the following year, I had the least amount of errors by a third baseman in 150 games. So those are all 3 fielding records that was established then. That's just a lot different now. But it was very, very special to go through that. And I was able to have a lot of clutch hitting. I did a lot of game-winning hits, which was very fortunate because I wasn't that, kind of a star player. And to go through all of that, and at the same time I had 6 Grand Slam home runs for the amount of home runs I hit was just a high percentage. So that all had an effect on everything we did with the game-winning hit atmosphere that I was fortunate enough to have.
Yeah, I think Gil Hodges hit 14 Grand Slams in his career, and of course he was the type of guy who would hit 35 home runs in his prime, 40 home runs every year.
That's right, and that was my career, just 1 year. But he, it's just incredible. You look at number 14, and have 14 Grand Slams, and we're in that number 14 all those years, and 14 years in the big leagues. He was just a special individual. We all loved him, and he's one that belongs in the Hall of Fame right now, and we worked very hard for that.
That was the next question I'm going to ask. Why is he not in the Hall of Fame? I mean, the combination of his playing career and managing career.
Well, that's a question that we've been trying to get answered, and we did a lot of work this past December because we really thought we had a great chance to do it this year. And actually, Tommy Lasorda is very much involved, and he and I are very close, and we thought we really got it, but they came up short again. When you look at strictly on the basis of some of the numbers, but there's the kind of individual. This is the kind of person you need in the Hall of Fame. He symbolizes the kind of player off the field as well as on the field that you want to be around.
Yeah, but when you talk about the stats, I mean, he won a number of Gold Gloves, and first half of his career they weren't even giving out Gold Gloves.
That's right. He did so much, and he was a clutch hitter too. He did a lot of great things, and not to be recognized for that has really upset a lot of us.
Try to keep trying on that one. Let's hope he gets in one day.
That's right. We really have to. We can't stop on that. And we have the son working, and naturally the wife Joan, and we're doing everything we possibly can. Okay,
is there anything the people out in the audience can do? Because there are a lot of Gil Hodges fans out here. We're taping right now from Brooklyn.
Oh, is that right? Whereabouts in Brooklyn?
Bay Ridge, 74th Street, 5th Avenue.
Yeah. The interesting thing about Brooklyn, do you know familiar with LaFayette High School there in Bensonhurst?
Of course, yeah. Sandy Koufax and you.
That's right, and we produced 12 major leaguers from that high school. So you can imagine the environment for, that played the parade grounds and also Prospect Park, and how these development from that high school area was just incredible.
Who were some of the other players that play? We know Fred Wilpon, we know Sandy Koufax, we know you. Who else played at Lafayette? Your brother, I guess, Ken, right?
Yeah, my brother Kenny and Al Ferrara, Mike Napoli, and Larry Yellen, and it goes on, and you really have over the years, I think it's a total of 12, if I'm not mistaken.
That's a great accomplishment from one school in Brooklyn.
Well, when you mention it, in other interviews that I do and some of the talks that we discuss what really took place as a youngster, that really opens up a lot of people's eyes regarding the kind of atmosphere that we all played under and how much we all were involved in the game of baseball.
After your professional career ended, what'd you do?
Well, I was very fortunate. Right after my career, I established Aspromonte Coors Distributing Company. We were able to get a franchise here in Houston and brought the beer down to Houston area in 1976. So it became an incredible long 30-year stretch of having the distributorship and also doing an awful lot of charity work. I'm very active with the YMCAs and Houston Eye Associates, and that's so important to give back. And fortunate enough, the city of Houston recognizes how much I try to give back, and that's a great feeling for me.
You were the main stalwarts of that old Houston Colt 45 team. Plus, you're probably one of the, I hate to say it, but you're one of the few guys left alive who played in Ebbets Field.
That's right. That's right. I got some great photos of that. I just look at that when they took those Brooklyn Dodger photos. And remember, we won the pennant that year. And one of the greatest things that happened after that game was over, I had a guy named Jackie Robinson hug me so hard I would not let him go. This young kid was just starry-eyed over all of this, and Jackie just made me feel part of it.
What other players do you... Well, you got to remember all of them, but who else made an impression besides Jackie Robinson and Gil Hodges?
Carl Furillo, Duke Snyder. When you look at guys like that, and it had so many special kind of superstars that were involved. And when you see all of that, Gino Simoli, and even little Sandy Ambrose, the only at bat I got, I pinched hit for Sandy Ambrose. It was kind of in the eighth inning. We were winning by 17-2, so it was a very comfortable pinch hit. And so that's how the career started. It brings back great memories.
Now, if the young kids today that are playing baseball, what advice would you give them?
Well, I think most important, and I do this like I said, I'm a chairman of the YMCA as well. I'm very active, and we talk about how important it is, to really work hard at what you want to do and create that career atmosphere. But they need to know and take care of their own futures with hard work and persistence. And I made that a very strong point when I talked to all these kids. And we're fortunate enough here, we have 38 YMCAs who take care, I'm using round numbers, about 250,000 kids overall. So when you get out in front of them, you've got to build that kind of confidence and take and what he asked them, the faith of a child is sometimes, it's so incredibly impossible to really make sure that they understand how important that is.
Thank you very much for sharing your stories with us. And you ever come back to Brooklyn?
Oh, yes, we'll be back. In fact, we were there for, it's really interesting. We were there 2 months ago for the National Italian Federation, and we've honored Mike Piazza. We had Mike Piazza, and we really, it was a special week, and actually he'll be inducted into the Hall of Fame in July. So that was just 2 months ago. We were there. Going back to Coney Island, going back to the neighborhood for the first time in many years.
Have you seen the Cyclones?
It's great to see all that.
Cyclones ballpark?
Yeah, I saw that. I think that's a nice ballpark.
Right, it is.
It really is. Very special.
Well, hopefully we'll see you someday out here in Brooklyn if you're here.
Well, I hope so. I'll look, for now, I'll make sure I look that up, Mike, and call you when I do get in there.
Thank you very much for sharing the stories. The audience really appreciates just playing a few games with the Brooklyn Dodgers makes you immortal in Brooklyn.
Oh, you're super. So you enjoyed some of these stories then, huh?
Yes.
Okay, Mike. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob.
a lot.